Hello and welcome to Monday Club. I am your host this evening, Nicholas. And to my left is Sam. Bottom right is Mark. Oh no, because it's all backwards, isn't it? On the different screens. Anyway, Dave Savery's joining us. Amy's not here tonight.
That's the worst intro of all time. Listen, Amy's not here tonight. Amy is taking a sabbatical. So we have called in the legend known as Dave Savo. He's even bought the McDonald's hat out of retirement for tonight.
Well, it's not quite retired, but the wife gave me a bit of a haircut yesterday, and it's bad, lads. It's bad.
Oh, please show us. Please.
Come on.
The back still needs some work, but we I'm gonna sort of sweep it over like a sort of.
Do you know what?
Hey, what did she say when you cut your hair?
I said to her, can you just give it a bit of a trim to give you like my eyes? And she just went up there somewhere. And I looked at it afterwards going, what the fuck have you done?
Do you know what you look like? You look like you've had a brain op.
I know, it is the Dumb and Dumber cut, isn't it?
What did she say when
just
you
come out
cut
of
your
brain
hair?
surgery, bro?
She started it and then she just sort of started apologising profusely. And that's when you know things have gone wrong.
Wow.
To be fair, she just kept plumbing away at it.
Wow. I think that'd be grounds for divorce. I haven't had a haircut precisely for that reason. I haven't had a haircut for 4 months precisely for that reason. Because if she did it, I would just have to punch her, and that's it.
How can you still look like an egg then? Surely it grows. I mean, mine was down to my eyes. I look like.
No, he's just all sweaty. It just all go back, doesn't it?
Just all slide
sweat. Oh God, you look like Westlife. To be fair, I'm at my other half's cutting my hair tomorrow night. Mine's long.
I'm just sick of it. Anyway, bore off with the boring talk about hairdos. Dave Savo's had a brain op, so hopefully he's on form tonight. Marco, now you've had an interesting week this week, and I know this is actually a big week for you, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got all the stuff dropping with Apprentice 1-to-1 with sponsors doing some, not sponsors, but manufacturers doing some giveaways. So they're putting some multifunction testers over to give away to apprentices. We've got some other bits and pieces as well. This will have all happened by the time the episode release, actually, so we can talk about it, can't we? But there's the Super Odd Ferric Wi-Fi's. We've got some hand tools from the loadout shop, and the TIS MFT Pro. And
big shout out to Loadout, Mikey, Residual Current. Big shout out to him, putting his hand in his pocket, reaching out for apprentices. Got so much respect for that guy. Big shout out to TIS, obviously the main sponsors of Monday Club. But you know what, Steve at TIS, legend.
Yeah, I spoke to him the other day. Nice guy, really nice guy.
A really good bloke.
Very much so.
Did you know, Nick? Why?
Yeah, I did though. Yeah, I did though. I did because I've got a MFT to try out and have a go. I spoke to him the other day, and he messaged me on, I think it was LinkedIn, which I never really go on, and we had a bit of a chit chat. And I said, we're doing that many ICRs. Adam has got my old tester, which is a 1502, which is a brilliant tester, very simplified, but it's getting a bit slow now. And I'd like to train him up to use something a bit more, well, down with the kids, the amount of buttons and everything on it, and train him up from that so I can give him that and send him off and go and test the house. Because most of the time he tests it while I do the stuff at the board and fill the certificates in, so it works really well.
Nice. Savo, now you've been called in to rescue Monday Club tonight. What have you been up to this week, my man?
Well, it's only Monday. I haven't been up to much.
Last week,
but last week I was on a commercial EICR, which is apparently arse, so much so that I've decided not to do them anymore.
I saw you think on Twitter.
You do quite a lot of them, don't you, Mark? In fact, you were saying last Monday Club that your other works sort of dropped off a bit.
Yeah, definitely. We do quite a few commercial EICRs, but mainly the ones at the minute are all domestic because of the new PRS rules that are coming in April. So we aren't doing too many commercial ones at the minute. Everyone's too tight to pay for anything in that kind of domain right now, I'm finding.
What makes a commercial EIC? Sorry, Dave.
Sorry, I was just saying I don't get a lot of commercial ones, but I don't know, they're just Oh,
Gross.
What makes them so gash though?
this particular one, and it looked like it was an easy one. The place is only 20 years old, community centre. And you think, you know, it can't be that bad, for goodness sake. It's not like it's industrial. It's not like it's a factory. The place is currently pretty much closed because of COVID. We've got the run of the place. How bad can it be? And the first board, they've got two big boards there, two sort of 16-way, three-phase distribution boards, both pretty full. Took the cover off the first one, and it's just packed. And it's an old Hagen one where the neutral bar is just completely obscured by the circuit wires and the RCBOs. So you've got no way of getting to disconnect the neutrals through proper testing without disassembling the whole goddamn thing. And it just felt like hard work more than anything else.
I'd hate that. I'd absolutely hate it. I'd end up taking the board apart, testing it, and then putting it back together nicely. I know I would.
Yeah, it's just very difficult to put that together nicely, and also, yeah, no, it was just hard work, as I say.
And we all know you don't like hard work, mate.
I don't.
No, that's you.
Listen, do you want to talk about hard work, mate? Like Mark knows, Nick, you're a dropout. Hard work starts at 5 o'clock in the morning, because all last week been smashing the challenge, the 28-day challenge, Fat Sam Positive Charge 28-day challenge, where got a group of us doing getting up at 5 in the morning, doing a mile walk or run, 10 burpees, 10 press ups, and then not eating till 1 o'clock, and then finish eating at 8. Oh yeah, and a cold shower as well. So I've been doing that. Well, I'm on day 8 now, but mate, I feel so much better for it.
Right. No eating after one, sorry.
Yes, but it's good. Like, honestly, I'm not as hungry. I'm not as craven.
Oh, I lost some of it.
Can't take him. Can't take him anywhere. But no, I'm feeling good. I feel good. And then, so this is day 8, and I had to get up at 4. Well, I had to get up before 4 o'clock this morning, be out the door for 4, do my morning exercises before 5 today, and then drive all the way into London to a job I'm on for a couple of weeks. And honestly, I just can't believe what the jobs in London have become. I'm going to put a picture here of what I experienced today. Honestly, there's 3 pictures: picture 1, picture 2, and picture 3. Now, honestly, in these pictures, it'll blow your mind. We have to sit in booths at lunchtime. You have to sit in a booth at lunchtime, just looking at, like, I suppose they're probably, I don't know, a meter by meter booth where you have to sit and have your lunch.
It's tight for you then, yeah?
Yes, Nick. Wouldn't fit your Hey Arnold head in there, though, would it? Look, triggered. You're getting a triggered sign for that now. But yeah, it was it's just shocking. Honestly, they've got some, like, on this particular site, they've got social distancing marshals. So a dude goes round and makes sure that you're all social distancing, and put your mask on between mouthfuls and stuff like that. Like, where's the self-responsibility in these places?
Yeah, but the problem is with the people like that, there is no self-responsibility. Most people don't give a shit. That's why they're not doing it. So if anything, the site's being good doing that, enforcing the rules. Really, it's just you don't like it.
Mate. Like honestly, what? But I suppose you're right, mate. I suppose you're right to a certain degree.
No, to every degree.
Getting on the train. So I had to get the train. So I drove to my brother's house, got the train into London, and then got on the tube. Mate, picture number 4, tube. Honestly, it was rammed this morning.
This is what I mean, though. So you could have gone on the tube. You could have come in contact with someone that was infected, but because the measures that they put in strict measures at the workplace, stop you from spreading it. So if anything, it's good, but equally bad for transport.
It's just mental. Like, what is such a surreal experience sitting there in a booth eating your lunch in isolation, like, and like the people are just acting strange in London. I've been out of London for so long, but I don't know why construction workers like put up with it, and like why they go into site. And people say, "Oh, it's because they've got bills to pay and stuff." But at some point, you've got to stand up and just say no. Like, oh, I'm not living like this. I'm not doing this. This is ridiculous. Getting on the tube every morning to go and earn a crust in the midst of a pandemic that literally stopped the world. Something's got to change. It's just, I don't know, have the answer. I'm just ranting. It's thoughts coming out my head as I'm making them, but it was rough. It's a rough thing to see. And it's quite dystopian in London at the moment. And yeah. So yeah, I'm there for a couple of weeks. It's pretty rough, but you know, it's worth it, I suppose.
With the social distancing rules, Sam, can you actually do your job properly? Because you're saying you've got to sit in a booth to have your dinner and have marshals keeping you all apart. How the hell are you doing stuff? Like, I assume it's quite a big project. You've got more than one kind of person involved with each task, I would have imagined. How do you manage to do that and keep 2 meters apart all day anyway?
So it's actually a bit of a facade, this 2 meters, this COVID marshals. They don't have COVID marshals on site, or social distancing marshals on site. They're nowhere to be seen. It's also -3 on site. -3. There's probably 100 people on that site working in -3 conditions. Like, there's no extra, like there's no like anything put in place to make it like somewhere to go and warm up or heaters on site or anything. It's just cold all day.
What's the law on it? I remember when I worked on building site, it was like -12, and we actually got sent home because it passed a certain degree. They're not allowed to have the sites open.
I don't know if shutting the site is the answer, but what I do know is, I just think, why are people doing this? Like, why would you do this? I mean, I'm there for 2 weeks. It's a real cushy little number. I'm getting some good money for it. I've had my COVID vaccination, so I'm all right. And I'm up there, and I just think, like, I don't understand why people are tolerating working like this in these conditions. There's no social distancing on site. There's no temperature check as you walk in the door. You know, it's just literally the canteen is like a showpiece of this is what we're doing. But actually on site, nothing. You're not required to wear a mask on site. You're like, there's no temperature checks. There's no social distancing enforcement or anything like that on site. They've done a walk around today. The builders done a walk around today, and there was maybe 15 of them, all within 2 meters of each other. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they're all walking around in a bunch, not socially distanced. It's almost like they do just enough to pay lip service to it, but they're not actually. They actually don't care, because if these. But so when you talk about health and safety at work, right? So you're a certain offence will get you a yellow card or a red card. The yellow card will get you sent home for the day, re-inducted tomorrow. A red card will mean you're banned from all of that builder's sites for the rest of your life. A yellow card offence is not wearing your glasses. There's a few different ones. You can be written up for all kinds of things. And the yellow card system is so mental that you can work in -3 temperatures, and your fingers get numb, your feet get numb, you're cold all day. But if you get caught without your glasses on, you get sent home. I just don't like.
Unpaid.
Oh yeah, you get sent home unpaid. Like, it just, it's priorities. It's like a massive box ticking exercise that makes no sense, and it's almost like I've stepped into a world that I've forgotten and just been like, and just shocked by what I used to tolerate. It's mental. But yeah, end of Fat Sam's rant on the commercial construction industry.
The Giza mentality, though, isn't it? It's the same as like I'm on. I've got a big site that I'm doing work on, not big as in like a huge construction site, but there's several blokes there, various trades, and they said a few weeks ago, right, we want you to start wearing masks now. Well, the guy in charge did. It lasted about a day, and then everyone just takes them off and gets on with what they got to do. I don't know, because it's I don't know, you just get on with what you're doing, don't you? And you don't sort of, I don't know. It's
a foolish mentality is what it is. It's foolish. And it's almost like, and this is going to sound really rough, and people are going to hate me for saying this. It's almost like, when did commercial electricians and construction workers lose their self-respect in terms of what they will accept in their life, like conditions they'll accept working in? Where did it go?
Yeah.
Like, I
You
get
make
that
a good
to
point,
a point.
Sam.
I get it to a point, but equally they need to pay the bills. And if they say I'm not working under them conditions, they don't have a job. Someone else will happily do it to get paid. There's always someone else that will do your thing. You're just a number at the end of the day. Being a commercial spark in a big construction site like that, that's the bad thing about it. It is. You don't do it, someone else will.
I know. I just
That's
can't.
where the
I just
numbers
can't. I just can't
tolerate it. Like, you
ratify
just
it
have
in
to
my
tolerate
head.
it.
Like,
Yeah,
it was 2019 since I was last on a site, and it's a similar. We were subcontractors, so we weren't employed through an agency or anything like that. And they put up a great show for all of the inductions and pre-site safety meetings, and having everyone come in and be told exactly what you need to do. The canteen looked amazing, site security, but as soon as you got past all that, it was nothing was enforced. You know, you were kind of left to your own devices. The safety aspect wasn't really enforced or anything. And I do think maybe construction workers put up more than most other industries and sectors, and maybe that's just through the nature of what we do. When it is outdoors and you are going to be cold and it's hard physical graft. But if you imagine in an office environment, if you're asking for someone to work in -3 with no real decent welfare facilities, would they tolerate that? Would they keep turning out for work? You know, I'm not convinced that they would. I think that we could do better for construction workers, certainly large-scale sites. And they're wearing a masks. I mean, that's just ridiculous when you're in a big building environment and you're wearing these fabric masks we wear down the shops. That's all well and good. But when you've got a sweat on and you're doing physical work, they're not protecting you from microorganisms in the air. It's just not realistic to expect that they would do. It's a fantasy that that's providing any kind of protection. Yeah. I think if you've got a cough or a cold and you're out in the shops, you are going to prevent spreading that around other people. But if you're doing your job and you're doing a physical, hard working job, I don't see the benefit of those. You're much better with your proper face respirator masks. If they're that concerned about it, we should all be wearing those while we're working.
Well, this is it. If you think about when you're on a commercial site, you have and you're doing drilling, or you're drilling into something. What was the other thing? You have a face-fitted mask for silica dust.
Yeah.
Because silica's going to be the new asbestos, as they say and stuff. So you have to be cleanly shaved and you have to have a face-fit mask. Well, my argument would be a silica particle is bigger than a COVID particle, if you like. So, you know, I don't know what the answer is. I just know that I feel quite, taken back by today. Like, my first experience back on a commercial site uptown was quite daunting, and I was like, Jesus, this is I'm glad this is not my career anymore.
So what have you been doing lately then, Sam, instead of the commercial stuff? I know you've been off for a while.
I've been off for a while, but I was kind of doing commercial. I was working for a company that done Hilton hotels, and just basically strip out the room. Then they go in, redecorate it, fit new headboards. Someone else would first fix, and I would just literally sit there and second fix sockets to the bed, the headboards. And I did that for ages. And then I was doing student accommodation, which is pretty much the same thing. But then I've also got other little ventures on the side and stuff that I'm building up. And yeah, it's just, you know, I sort of took myself out of this commercial life because I remember getting so down about it and feeling so like I just felt like a drone, just or even like a mouse in a cage, just treading that wheel, just like never going to get anywhere in terms of happiness and fulfillment doing a commercial electrical job. You're just not, like, long term. Short term, it's all right. You go in, get it done, earn a few quid, get out. But actually, if you spend years and years doing the commercial circuit, I personally found it soul destroying, really soul destroying. And today was like a real big eye opener about it.
Yeah, see, that's the difference between us three and to you. We're being self-employed and have our own businesses. Once we start a job, it's our job. Once it's finished, we look at it and go, sweet, we did that, bit of pride, and we're on to the next one. But for you, it's like just continuous, isn't it? There's no real end to it.
No. And you very rarely get to see the end of any job. It's just not. I've seen the end of a few jobs, but I may have had 100 jobs in my career, and I might have seen the end of maybe 6. You know, you're never there to the end because you're labour only, a labour only subcontractor. Like once your usefulness is up, they don't keep you around. Just like, do you want to see the end of the job, mate? Stay on. You know what I mean? So don't really like that. The second they can get rid of you, they do. And you go into that with your eyes wide open. Like, I'm not going into that thinking, oh, I feel so hard done by. No, I understand this is the nature of the game. We're mercenaries, but yeah, I don't miss it. I don't miss it.
Do you think it all comes back to how you're all kind of employed with that, Sam, through agencies? Do you think it would be better if you were kind of employed direct to firms rather than being set up like that?
I think it would be different if there was no such thing as a labour only subby, and you had a gainful, meaningful employment. I personally don't do well in that environment. I'm not really a very good employee. But I think
telling yourself there, mate.
People would be a lot happier, I think, on site. You got to think, you have people doing this job, bouncing from site to site all around London for 10, 15, 20, 25 years doing the same thing, like a couple of weeks off a year. Then people are dying to be employed. And I think it would make a very big difference to the sort of mentality and culture on site. I don't know. That's just my feeling. I've done a lot of talking tonight, and we got Dave Savo in the house.
Shall we move on to a topic? Do you want a topic to discuss? I have a small and insignificant topic, but it came from Mr. Savery's Twitter, actually. I saw it on his post first, and it was to do with the NEC merging Alexa into the one brand and how people thought about that, with the CPS is kind of grouping up into smaller and smaller choice for us consumers as electricians, and the prices we have to pay being dictated by less and less companies. How do we all see that moving along?
It's just good thing, bad thing. Go on, sorry.
Good thing or a bad thing? You know, what do you feel about it? Or not bothered? I
personally not bothered whatsoever. I was annoyed a couple of years. So I've always been with NAPIT, never NIC. My original boss was NAPIT, just backed off him, and that was it. But I remember losing. It was only ever one. It was my dad was painting a block of flats, and they wanted an electrician to change over all the emergency lights. And he was like, "Oh, my son's an electrician. I've been doing it about 2 years." So they said, "Oh yeah." So I went and sent a quote. I've never been an apprentice. Be quiet. And gave him a quote, and he asked what this thing was in the corner, my NAPIT logo, and I was like, "Oh right." And he was like, "You're not registered with NIC?" I was like, "No, it's NAPIT." What's NAPIT? So I had to explain it, and I lost the job because it wasn't NIC. They'd only recognise NIC as the proper governing body, not anything else. And I obviously spoke to NAPIT about it, and they were like, "Oh, we'll write you a letter. We'll, do everything they wanted to do for me," which was great. And I said no, because as soon as the guy said that, I was like, "Oh, I don't want to work for you anyway," to be fair. And so I went from there, and looking at it, I think if you went to anyone nowadays with a main manufacturer of a customer, like domestic, they would sort of know if they know anything NIC, maybe NAPIT. But then if you go and chuck in all the other little ones, no one knows what they are other than electricians. I think if you have two main ones, NIC and NAPIT, as a two proper recognised governing bodies for domestic, well, any electrician, but mainly domestic for me. I think that would be more beneficial, maybe. But that's only if the consumer knows what they are. But you know, all the time you could say with a registered governing body, they don't have a bloody clue what you're on about.
It's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, fewer of them means better brand recognition to your client.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of, really.
Yeah, I mean they all cost about the same, I think, and they all do about the same amount of work for the money.
Yeah, the only thing I can compare the two, obviously being NAPIT and from NIC, is I speak to obviously CGR quite a bit. He's with NIC. You're with NIC, ain't you, Dave? Is you've got to pay more for this to be a registered installer, is it? Domestic installer?
They've got domestic installer and approved contractor. And I'm not sure if there really is a price difference between them. There may be, I don't know.
Because obviously, I, like you, we use EasyCert, so I pay for my own separate software, which I prefer. But if I just pay my one-off to NAPIT every year, then I don't need to do anything else. I can do my EICRs.
No, you still got to pay
for
the certification software. That doesn't come as part of your membership.
Sorry, did I freeze then, or was it you?
I don't know.
I think you freezed a bit, Nick.
You've still got to pay for your certification software, even if you use the NAPIT stuff.
Yeah.
What
Nick's internet's gone down big time on it, I think.
What? But yeah,
I think the issue with the NIC and the Alexa thing was they never actually consulted. Well, from what I've seen on social media, they never even mentioned it to the Alexa registered contractors. I think the first they found out about it was through some of the other posts they'd seen people sharing on social media. I mean, obviously, I'm not an Alexa member, so I don't know if that is the actual case. But if it is, it's not the best. You'd think they would consult the members on if they wanted that to happen, and the same with the NIC members as well. So I know they own both brands, and at the end of the day, they can do what they like with them. But you'd think that the courtesy of speaking to the people paying all of their wages and bills might have been, a decent thing to do. I don't know if any of you know that is the actual case or not.
I always thought Alexa, when I came into this business back in 2012, I always thought, because when I came in, I thought I want to be with NECA because they're the brand I recognise. And if I recognise it, customers are probably going to recognise it. And I think back then I looked into it, and they wanted sort of someone with 2 years experience. They didn't want to just take in someone who was new. Was my understanding at the time. It may have been wrong, but that's the way I saw it at the time. So I ended up going with NECA, but I looked at Alexa. I always thought that the difference between NIC and Alexa was NIC was there for the bigger, perhaps the more established companies or people, and Alexa was perhaps more of an easier way in, one that in a way they were distancing their own name from perhaps what were maybe new startups who perhaps didn't have the experience, and they were a bit worried that they might not necessarily sully their brand by allowing too many people in that they felt hadn't been in the field long enough. But they had this Alexa badge that they could sell to these people. So it's always a bit weird that they had that, and then they still had an NIC domestic installer scheme. That just like, well, surely they're doing the same sort of thing. They're a way in for people who haven't come in via other routes or haven't had the experience to sort of join the approved contractor scheme. So it always seemed a bit odd that they had those two schemes running together. And if they were going to get rid of one, then personally I'd have thought that it would be better to keep the Alexa scheme, to make it a more of a differentiation between those on approved contractor and those on domestic installer. But
so I don't really know much about this. This is not a subject I'm too familiar on. I always remember when I thought about going out by myself, the least hassle one was Alexa. Am I correct in thinking that, like, you could just literally pay your money and, off you go? I don't think you have to have an assessment or anything.
No, you do. You have to have an assessment, and not to put down Alexa members, but when I was joining, I saw them as the easy route in as well. I felt that it was harder to get into NAPIT at the time than Alexa, rightly or wrongly. That was my perception at the time. And part of it was based on some of the people that I'd seen who got rubber stamped by Alexa. I remember one guy, he kept calling RCDs what was it, RBCs or something. He couldn't even get the spelling right for the fucking device. So I remember thinking, how the hell are you going to pass your assessment with Alexa tomorrow? And he did, and I just remember thinking, well, how has this happened? I don't understand it. And it's sort of instances, examples like that sort of solid the brand a bit for me. Not to take anything away from those who are on that scheme, because you can be on any scheme, and obviously, you know, they have their good members, their bad members, and the schemes themselves are all pretty much providing the same sort of thing, a warranty that you can never fucking use, and maybe some publications that they send out every now and again, and of course your annual assessment for what it's worth.
And it's not just NIC who are doing that. The NAPIT have kind of bought Stroma as well, if that's how you say it, and they're kind of merging slowly. I think those two brands together, you probably see a similar thing happen there. So, you know, it's one of those things like Nick said, with the one brand and the awareness. Sorry.
I've done the finger of hold, right? I need to understand. With NIC, yeah, and they've obviously bought Alexa, what happens now? Like, will the Alexa brand go away and it just all be NIC, or will it still exist but they just own it?
They bought it a couple of years ago, I think, maybe even longer than that. This is just they're the ones who started it. I'm not sure. I know it's been around for a while. I think this is just something they've decided to do now.
So getting rid of Alexa brand is gone.
Yeah.
When does that go?
They're phasing it out from April, I believe.
And then,
my knowledge with it though, anyone that's with Alexa has to have an NIC assessment to the same tilt that an NIC assessor, like domestic installer or whatever, would have. They need to have it reassessed properly by the new guys, which will be interesting because I presume they're going to be a hell of a lot stricter.
I imagine it's probably the same guys who do the Alexa assessments as do the NICDI assessments. I don't know, but they're all under the same umbrella currently and have been for quite a while. So
got to tick the same boxes.
There's a huge difference between them.
Yeah.
See, I have a bit of a thing that about. I'll get my words out in a minute. It's been a long day. So you're only going to have really two power players in this sector now, aren't you? You're going to have NAPIT, they've got Stroma. You're going to have and you're going to have NIC. So if they merge what they've got together, and you've got NAPIT and NIC now, you know, competition's good. Just having the two in competition, I don't know if it's sort of. I don't know if that's good. I think there needs to be more. I feel like there needs to be more players in the game to get the best deal for electricians.
Well, the good thing about Stroma was its cost. It was the cheapest out there by quite a margin. But there are other ones out there. There's one called, I think, Blue Flame certification, who I'd never even heard of until last week when it got mentioned on Twitter. But it sounds like they're charging about the same as NIC, and they haven't got the brand traction. No. So how can they do that? Because like Nick says, if you turn up with a quote saying, well, I'm with these guys here, there's going to be people who recognize the NIC logo, the NAPIT logo, and will go, oh, well, fine. These other brands like Blue Flame are perfectly valid, I'm sure, and like everybody else, they've got their good contractors and their bad contractors, but Joe Public out there doesn't recognize the logo.
The NAPIT has come a long way in the last maybe in the last 10 years, but certainly in the last 5 years, they've come a long way. Like, for most people, for most electricians, they are a viable alternative now. Certainly in domestic. I don't know much about commercial. I dare say they're probably not as well known commercially or as accepted commercially. But they've done a hell of a job sort of upping their brand and becoming like a bit of a player.
NAPIT are very credible. Their biggest problem is the fact that the NIC EIC name is like Hoover with vacuum cleaners, isn't it? People just use it as a brand name. We want to see, so you get these things from the local council or whatever saying this is NIC EIC accredited or whatever. And what they mean really is it must be accredited with a competent person scheme. And as Nick says, you could be with one of the other ones and they just don't recognise it. And I had that problem when I was with NAPIT, and I had to argue the toss a few times to say, no, they're all the same. These are all government approved competent person schemes, and my membership with this scheme gives me, the alternative dispute resolution and the warranty that you'll never be able to use, and all the other stuff that NIC members get. But it's convincing people that I always found that it was annoying having to convince people. It was easier to switch to NIC and just not have to bother anymore.
Yeah. Go on, Mark. Carry on saying what you were saying before Sam kept going.
Yeah,
I needed to understand.
No,
I don't know what you are talking about.
It's pretty much what you've all sort of said, to be honest. I think there's a few different reasons why you would go with a certain scheme, and one is because you've got to, like we've said, because the customers want you to be. Whether that's right or wrong, it does still happen. I mean, I can think of Neil Sam when his rail works. He's said a few times he has to be NIC registered. There's no option in it. He's got to be to keep his customers. Then there's contractors out there who just want the cheapest solution to the Part P thing. If you're in the domestic area, and Stromer, like David said, was a good way to get around all of that. And then you've got people who want to kind of market their brand through the NIC because it is well known. And Nick made a great point about kind of the consumer side of all this, because in the world of gas, we've got Gas Safe. They all know that. We want competition as electricians so we can get a better deal on our route into a CPS, but maybe it would be better looking at it from a consumer's point of view if there was just the one. And we're kind of not mentioning the one that maybe is the most well-known among electricians of the ECA. It's interesting that they're part of CertShare as well. And I know that they have a scheme through Part P notifications if you're an ECA member.
Well, I don't know that they allow, I may be wrong again, I may be wrong about all sorts of things tonight. I don't know that the ECA allow Part P notifications as such. I'm with ECA, and I get my Part Ps cheaper because I'm with NIC, because I do it through NIC. But because I'm with ECA, I get it at a lower cost because it's all under the same CertShare umbrella. I don't think the ECA have their own Part P notification scheme in the same way that NIC and NAPIT. I don't think they're a competent person scheme as such. They're a different kind of organisation.
What
tougher to get into?
What is the purpose of the Why did you join the ECA? What do you get from that other than like cheaper Part P?
The use of their logo on my quotes and stuff. That is all.
Is that benefited you at all? Because I got asked to get.
They do offer quite a lot to those who want to take it, which I don't. For example, if they're mainly for bigger organisations. They're not really for your average domestic spark, so I don't get a lot of use out of them. But bigger organisations, multi-man organisations, commercial organisations will get a lot from them. Things like, for example, British standards. You know how horrendously expensive British standards are if you want to get a copy. Well, you can get them very cheaply through ECA in comparison to what you would pay if you were after getting copies of British standards otherwise. They do things like I've got access to a portal where I've only had to use it a couple of times, where you can knock up things like risk assessments and method statements quite easily. They do sort of training and awards, which obviously I'm never going to win any, but and they do function.
Leave that up to Beck, yeah.
Sorry,
we'll leave that up to Beck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's going to win any awards. But yeah, so they do. So they've got training opportunities. They do various functions. The trouble is, it's kind of an old man's club. You know, it just feels like it's a bunch of old white guys all clubbing together and going for their nights out, and
like Masons, electrical Masons.
Yeah, it's like an electrical Masons. And I don't want to be part of that. I know I'm an old white guy myself, but I don't want to find myself wearing a tuxedo with the missus all dolled up going to one of these balls.
They wouldn't let you in that haircut, mate. You see, you're all right.
Well, this is it.
Do you know what? They'd call an ambulance and be like, I think a few patients have escaped from the brain injury unit.
For God's
But
sake.
yeah, the only reason I joined was, again, the kudos of the logo. And, you know, it looks good on the website, looks good on the business card, looks good on your quotes.
This is one thing I've never found. Sorry, Mark. Is it Trustmark or for NAPIT? See, I got a load every year. Yeah, so I get asked every year, do you want this and do you want that, and you can stick it on your van. I don't give a shit at all. It's never once bothered me at all. I get the purpose of it, but for me, as a domestic spark, it goes around old lady's house that says she wants a fusible changer, fix a shower. None of that stuff matters. I've not paid out for it. I can understand for bigger firms, like I know you employ a few people, Mark, to do it, but for one man band and an apprentice, it's just a waste of money in my eyes. I would never get any use out of it.
If you're a logo whore and you want these extra stick on your quotes and your van, then so be it. I mean, I'm with Trustmark because if you're with ECA, you can get Trustmark for free. So I get 2 logos for the price of 1. But I paid to be with Trustmark previously when I was with NAPIT, and all they really offer, from what I can see, is an alternative dispute resolution service. And but I'm with Which as well, which is another thing. I'm paying out all these overheads for these things.
Yes, you say, how much is your bloody bill at the end of the month?
Well, Which also provide an alternative dispute resolution service, but again, it's a brand that the public recognise and trust. But
Which is
one extra thing out of which is they host my reviews and they vet reviews, so I'm no longer plagued with fake reviews.
I'll tell you what.
I remember your video well.
Yeah.
Which would be
that's
for a layman who knows nothing about the electrical industry or anything. If you had Which trusted trader or whatever it is, I think that goes a long way.
That's
I think
a big tick.
probably
that's a big tick.
Yeah, I think that's probably
when you compare it to the likes of Checker Trade, Rated People, Trusted Trader, they're all effectively directory services with a review platform. They don't really do any vetting or checking. They do a very minimal amount to make sure you solve them.
Oh, they take your money and stick your name on a website and that's it. Then they're happy. I've seen so many negative comments about Checker Trade, My Trusted Trader, all that, like so many of them, where literally the companies just want your money. You're just a number. You're on the sheet, right? There you go. Here's an email every now and then. But unfortunately, with Checker Trade as well, it's a known brand among the domestic customers in my eyes that they do recognize. Oh, right, they're the Checker Trade. Oh, yeah, but to me, if I see someone on the van with Checker Trade, I go, do you know what I mean? Without trying to offend people, I look at it, the sparks around my area, and this says Checker Trade on them. Like, you know better than me. Like, if anything, you're paying to try and find the work. I don't need to without it. Do you know what I mean? Without sounding like a snob, like I've never been a part of that, and I've always had enough work, so I don't quite get it.
I've never found that I've needed these sort of services to find work. You know, if you advertise in a savvy enough way, just not by throwing money at Google or whatever, but just advertising in like your local parish magazine and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, it can take a while to build up your client.
This is a good thing with me is I started whilst still living at home with mum and dad at a young age. I didn't need the massive surge of things. So I suppose I'm not looked at it from that point of view. You can imagine middle-aged guy with kids who's just going into the industry. He's going to need that influx of work straight away. So joining these different schemes would make sense. So yeah, that was my naivety there. So yeah.
Well, it's same here. I had a financial cushion. It took me 18 months to get the business sort of flowing. But I had a financial cushion over that time. And but like you said, if someone's just changing careers, excuse me, or going it alone, and they've got the pressure of having to obviously pay the mortgage and pay the bills, then yes, you need a ready stream of income. And one of the quickest ways to do that is to get in with these sort of directory services. But long term, you end up getting stuck with them because all your reviews are there, and then you either give them all up or you just carry on paying whatever they tell you to pay.
Or start a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Start a YouTube channel and then make videos of when you're sat on your own bed naked, blowing up a sex doll, and record it, stick it on the internet. That was gold.
But for some reason, the customers still keep coming, and I'm trying to put them off all the time, but they still keep ringing me.
If anything, I think you've attracted more.
Honestly, what was like?
So if you haven't seen Dave's video, go into Dave's YouTube channel, look at his last video, and you will come away in stitches. Not only does he rip the piss out of me,
go
and
watch Nick
himself.
making his ingots.
Oh, here we go.
Can I just say something? Can I just add this? Like, this is a different topic. At what point does it become a bit sad and creepy for Nick to keep wearing Batman hats slightly off center? Like, it's
That's not on purpose. This was a Christmas present, and I was cold today. I thought,
that time is coming quick, son. I'm telling you.
Nope.
Within
20s.
18 months, you're going to be too old and creepy to wear that.
Yeah,
That's fine. That's fine. I'll wear this one. Hang on.
You're coming to the end of that run, mate. Honestly, you're coming.
I've had these for years, by the way. This is an old one. This is one of the ones I bought off eBay that was meant to be the right size and turned up the wrong size. So it just never actually fit on my head. I've never actually worn it.
Cool story. Thanks.
Yeah, cool.
As your head grows bigger, it's going to fit in there. Is that what you're saying?
That's it. As I'm getting much older and wiser, and my head fills with more knowledge.
Can't say that. Right.
You got to edit that bit out.
Oh, jeez.
Write that down, Sam. What time are we on?
I don't know. But listen, I'm going to have... This has been such a lovely conversation. I've enjoyed it greatly, but I am literally freezing cold. So, yeah. Final thoughts, everyone. Nick's too old for that hat. Mark?
I just want to reach back to the ECA discussion, and I do know that they've done a lot for apprentices through the course of coronavirus. They had like a secondment scheme where they were swapping around between the different members, so they were moving apprentices between their employers to keep them in work rather than being laid off.
Thing they do is they call it the
that was really good.
Scheme,
yeah, that was really good.
It's something I never heard of. Where was that on? Where was that announced?
And ECA cut their annual fees because of COVID last year. I don't think anybody else did they? I don't think NIC did. Don't know about NAPIT.
No, I think
I'm still paying for a gym membership I've not been to in 2 years.
It shows.
I mean, so my gym, like the gym's shut, but I'm starting to pay to it to get a membership. Great. I wouldn't use it anyway. I'm just,
I'll cut that.
Oh,
out
whatever.
as well,
I'm going in and everything. Whatever. Just put the trigger sign up now. I'll show you.
Yes, I've been working hard for that. Right, listen, Savo, thank you so much for jumping in tonight, bringing your wisdom. Yes, I'm going to go to bed on a hungry tonight. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, brilliant. Anyway,
what is that?
Good.
Tony's chocolonely. Shit, dropping it everywhere.
I never heard of it.
No, of course you haven't, because it's Dave O'Savo. He's so strange that he finds the most oddest things.
He's made that himself, hasn't he? 100%.
What I made here is a mess.
Right.
Right, let's go.
Monday Club, we're out.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, mate. I'm
you fucking
so
bunch
cold.
of cocksuckers.